So last devlog I kinda left you guys hanging with what I would do with the last medal, or the platinum medal. And besides that, I also didn't do anything with the plan I made for the leaderboards. So let's start off with those two things. For the platinum medal, the medal you get when you beat my time, I wanted to make something a little bit epic, but also something not too hard for me to make. So I'm thinking of making the 3 medals merge in the center, and then out of those 3 medals comes the platinum medal. So let's make that. It's almost done now. I will probably tweak it a little bit later. I also added the weather sound effect. It's kind of like an epic finisher when you get all 4 medals. I already made a plan last devlog for the leaderboards, so it's just a matter of implementing it now. It wasn't that difficult to make. I just added 2 new leaderboard displays before and after the players run. And in the code I can easily call this function to get the users before and after the play. And if the user's in the top 3, then these ones will just be hidden. A while back, someone on the Steam forums pointed out that the rewind mechanic is kind of weird, as in time perception. You can rewind, but you're not really going back in time, because the button stays pressed, for example. And to be fair, if you look at it from this way, then yeah, it's kind of weird. There are also some players that suggested to make your health regenerate after like 10 seconds. So to kind of combine these two things, I decided to make your health rewindable. Basically just this. But because of this, if you rewind after every bit of damage, you can basically never die. Combined with the fact that enemies don't do a lot of damage, this makes the game quite easy. So I'm upping the difficulty level. But currently all the variables that define how strong an enemy are just hard-coded, so it takes quite long to change how strong an enemy is. So to make this more modular, I added a data table, where I can change all the important variables of an enemy, and then have each enemy get its information from that data table. This way I can easily change the difficulty later. Last devlog, I made the water less punishing by not making it kill you instantly. However, now that your health is rewindable, you can basically always survive whenever you fall into the water. So that's a bit overpowered. To make it a little more balanced, I've come up with an idea. It might not be the best idea, but I'm thinking of, if you fall into the water, you'll become wet. When you rewind out of the water, you'll stay wet for a couple of seconds. During these seconds you'll lose a small amount of health, because you are still wet. But you can obviously also rewind to get those health points back. So Pause Me thought it would also be smart to let the timer continue running when you rewind, instead of pausing the timer when you rewind, as I did it previously. But I did add some randomness, so the timer was running a little slower than normally. This seemed like an alright fix for rewinding being kind of overpowered. But if you look at it from the bigger perspective, it's kind of dumb. Let me explain. Speedrunning is the focus of my game, with for example the recently added medals. And rewinding is also a pretty important aspect of my game. But with this change, you would lose time if you would rewind. So from a speedrunning perspective, rewinding is useless, and to get the best time in the test chamber, you ultimately don't want to rewind. So this was not really a good change. So, back to pausing the timer then? Well, no. I don't think that's the right solution either, because when you rewind you still lose time, usually. Because you're going back to an older position, which means you'll have to travel that distance again, and that costs time. So, again, from a speedrunning perspective, rewinding is still useless. So the last option is to also rewind the timer, which, in a way, does make sense. Besides that, it would also make rewinding not as useless for speedrunners. But then again, that makes it kind of impossible to die if you constantly rewind. Is that even a bad thing, or is it a good thing? I don't know. Should I make the enemies stronger? Should I make them one-shot you? Or should I just make them shoot faster? That's the difficult part of balancing a game. Another thing I could also do is limit how long you can rewind in each test chamber. But that's also weird, because you're kind of limiting the core mechanic of the game. Or the longer you rewind, the more it starts to become glitchy, which could affect, for example, the amount of damage you receive or just visual effects. But yeah, I'm not quite sure what I wanted to do. It's kind of hard to balance a game. For now, I think I'll just leave it at rewinding the timer when you rewind. And as I said before, I also made the enemies stronger. But if you have any ideas regarding the balancing of the game, let me know by commenting here, or on Steam, or on Discord. With the recent additions to the game, it's really starting to come together. There are just a couple of things left to do, which I'll probably do in the next devlog. That said, thanks for watching and goodbye.